Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, Vladimir Putin had his speech last night, early this morning, I guess is what it would be, our time. And there's a little bit of talk about that. I know that some of the things being spread around is that it was nothing. Well, it was certainly not as dramatic as many people thought it would be. There was a lot of anticipation yesterday leading up to that, but I think that there's some things to talk about that and maybe a couple of other stuff, because we are seeing and hearing the war drums beat quite loudly and regularly, and we need to continue to get ourselves prepared for that. Ooh, that's a little hot. Before I get started, I wanted to say thank you to some extremely very dear friends of mine for sending me this t-shirt. If you can't see it, it says "Garden like your life depends on it," because it does. And that's absolutely true, folks. You really need to be producing food. We need to be producers of food. If you're wanting to be self-sufficient and be prepared for the things that are happening and that will come, being just a consumer, meaning that you're living off of a supply chain, is a very dangerous place to be. You need to be producing your own food and producing your own means to just live, figure out how you can do it on your own. And that's going to be different for everyone, but certainly produce food, lots of it. Also wanted to mention that one of us, meaning a listener of this channel, has I guess a GoFundMe. They're trying to raise some money, and it's for a good cause, and so I thought I would pass it along to you for anyone that's interested in helping out. This lady's father passed away, and apparently one of his life goals was to start a children's library, and so she's now raising money to try to fulfill that dream of his after his passing. So if you're interested in that, there'll be a link down in the description below for that cause. So the Putin speech happened, and the internet this morning seems to be a buzz that, it was a big nothing burger, nothing happened, it was just a long drawn out speech. Well, Putin is known for his long drawn out speeches. This one was almost 2 hours, which is typical for him. And he goes into a lot of things. You can talk about a lot within 2 hours. But I do think that there were some highlights there that we should make note of. One of them, the big one that everyone's talking about, is that he said that Russia will no longer be part of the nuclear arms treaty. That they're not going to be part of that. And while the technicality of that may not be that significant, because the likelihood that they were going to let any kind of inspectors in to see what they're doing right now is pretty slim. I think it's, he's letting the world know that they are disassociating themselves with the West, which is a big part of his speech. He also talked about the U.S. dollar. And while he didn't specifically mention the creation of the BRICS currency, he did allude to the fact that Russia would be working with other partners to build currencies that was basically outside of the West's reserve currency. And so there again, we're seeing that happen. We're seeing that happen with Russia and Iran and Saudi Arabia and India and South Africa and Venezuela and many other countries that are indicating that they would like to be part of this new BRICS system, which in a lot of ways will replace the current U.S. dollar-based reserve currency, the IMF, all of that, which is another big hit. I mean, is that World War III? Well, wars have been started on that. Many, would say that some of the wars that we have gotten ourselves into, or at least military actions that we've done against other nations, were due to their desire to disassociate with the U.S. dollar. So that's pretty significant. Another thing that he pointed out, and this one, I can't disagree with him, folks. He talked about how the West is at war with the family. He went into detail, talked about how that the West is promoting adults doing things with children. There's a word there you all know of, and YouTube doesn't like that word, and that's a sad thing right there. That if you say that word, you could get in trouble. But it's the P word. But he talked about how, the marriages are no longer between a man and a woman, which they should be. He said that that they're forcing religions, and we're seeing religions of the West cave into this radical ideology. And so it's interesting because that's something that I've been talking about too, that there is a war on the family. And then one other thing that he definitely mentioned that I think is significant, even though it's not a declaration of war or anything, is that Russia is not at war with the Ukrainian people. He's not at war with them. He says he's at war. They are at war with the West. They are at war with the West that is doing all the things that they're doing. So in the end, the speech goes by, and it's not nearly as significant as many people was worried it would be. And I don't think it was just the internet people, because if you look at some of the stuff that was said yesterday by certain world leaders, they certainly indicated that they were worried that it could be something. The German chancellor or someone, maybe the defense minister, yesterday claimed that after this speech, that the whole, it's all going to change, that the Ukrainian war will change, and for the rest of the West. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but that's pretty much what he said. So yesterday we had Biden visiting Ukraine, his little surprise visit, very strange. And then, of course, this speech by Putin. Here's the thing that I've taken away from all that. Nothing was shown that they were trying to walk back anything. Everything was just more saber-rattling, show of force, pushing forward with this. Now, a lot of people are kind of paying attention to China here lately, because they seem to be that wild card. The United States has threatened that China needs to not arm Russia with any kind of offensive weapons. China has said, mind your own business. Maybe you should take a look at yourself. I mean, that's pretty much what they said. And there's a lot of worry for that. China seems to be riding both sides of the fence. I believe that that's definitely where they want to be. They want to give this appearance that they're kind of neutral, that they're kind of riding both sides of the fence. And what I believe is it's because it's taking the attention off of them. I think that that's what they're hoping that will do, that people won't notice, that the United States, the West won't notice what they're doing and what they're planning, because regardless of what their end game plan is when it comes to their tactics, China has made it no secret over the last few years that they definitely want to dominate the world. They want to be in the position that America has been in for the last 60, 70 years. And that is what they're doing. They're doing it in an economic way. They're doing it with espionage and covert things that they're doing against us in the West. But most definitely, they want to be the dominating nation of the world. And that's a pretty scary place, because the United States' empire is crumbling. Their position of power is definitely weakening. We're watching it. You and I have grown up in a country that has been the dominant nation, and a lot of the things that we enjoy, we don't realize that it's because of that position that we have, that the whole world kind of looks to us. We're safe. Our currency is solid. We can prosper. We can very easily be prosperous. Our currency and the prices of goods are reasonable for the most part, and have been for a long time, and that's all going to change at some point. And it's very possible that's going to change in your lifetime. The idea that the world would no longer be interested in doing something like speaking English around the world. You can go just about anywhere on this planet and find people that can speak some kind of, a little bit of English at least. If you're a German speaker and you travel the world, you may have a hard time finding people that can speak German. Or some other language, but it's not too hard to find someone that can speak English and understand it. Same thing with our money. If you go around the world, it's very likely that you're going to find people that will accept U.S. currency, or at least it has been that way in the past. Those things could change. And those are just simple things that most of you aren't going to notice. It's not going to affect you. There's greater changes when it comes to global trade and how we will no longer be prioritized, because we're not going to be the big boys on the block. This is just a cycle of change. This is a cycle of change that's happened for hundreds of years, that every few generations a new nation rises up to be the big boy on the block, and we are losing that. And I think the real danger right now is that over the next couple of years, these countries that are against us, Russia and China and North Korea and Iran and so on and so forth, this time right now is just perfect for them, because we're in about the weakest place that we can be. And I mean that basically by our leadership. I get a lot of people that send me messages or even just comment on a video, and they're upset when I say that America's weak or that America may not be able to win a war, especially on a two-front war. Well, number one, our own officials have said so much as that. There's been generals that said that we are not capable of fighting a multi-front war. But it's not because I think that our military is specifically weak, definitely weaker than it's been. We've weeded out a lot of the patriots, and we've embraced our military, in large part, has embraced this woke mentality. And I believe that weakens us for sure. But what I mean is that it doesn't really matter how strong your troops are. You can have the best, most highly trained troops on the planet. You can have the best equipment, the best training, everything. But if your leadership is weak, if the leadership at the top of the chain, whether it's the military or the government, then everything else below it is weak. And I think the world sees that right now, sees that we are weak because of our leadership, whether it be in the White House or the Pentagon. And that's the danger that we're in right now. We're seeing this global buildup of just everyone wants to go to war right now. Everyone has a bone to pick about something. And the worry is that America is very weak, and the rest of the world sees that. And it's like I've said before, it's like the wolves watching the herd, and they're picking out the weak one. And we are that weak one right now. Because there's no one really at all strong enough to come to our aid. And if there was a global war that happened, who would really be fighting it? It would be us, 90% us versus China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, and who knows whatever country. And they know that. They know that they've got at least 4 or 5, combined forces against us, and a few little here and there with Europe and Australia and Japan. And none of them can really contribute very much. Any one of them only have, at best, 1 to 3 days worth of weapons. I mean, that's their own words. Look at what Europe is doing with the tanks to Ukraine. They were supposed to already have these tanks, okay? They made that announcement a couple of months ago, a month or so ago, that they were going to send them tanks. Now they're saying at best they might get there by May or June. And do you know why? Because they went through their tank inventory and figured out that most of their tanks aren't really functional. They've just been sitting wherever, and they're not functional. So now they've got to repair and get these tanks battle ready, because they're not. That's pretty sad. And then all the reports that they don't have the ammunition. So the worry is that we have a very weak world, and the only powerhouse is us, and we are the weakest we've ever been. And the other side wants to take us over. The other side sees that. And that is something that we should be concerned with, because all of this talk of this or that, or we're going to invade here, take Taiwan, move into Belarus, or move into Moldova or Poland, and all these other talks of things. The fact that America has the very appearance of being the weakest she's ever been should be of concern for a lot of you. There's all kinds of talk and whispers and we're talking official government intelligence, not ours, but European intelligence, that Russia is planning on doing some type of retaliation against Nord Stream. And honestly, that wouldn't surprise me. It would be surprising if Russia didn't. So we don't know where this is going to go, and will that retaliation be a precursor to war? We'll have to wait and see on that. But the bottom line is we need to be getting ourselves ready, because at this point in the game, no one is trying to back off. None whatsoever. Everyone is pushing forward with more aggression, more threats, more saber rattling. And when we see that, that's not a good sign. And that should be an indicator for all of you to get ready. Get your gardens. Get your gardens going. It's getting close to that time, folks. You should be working on it. Get your gardens going, get your preps going, get your plan ready, get your house in order, and start preparing mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.